This is a photo podcast presented by me, Richard Crothers, about the making of the video No Show by Window Seats.
No Show.
Fly on the wall photographer, Ricky McQuillan.
So meetings went all brilliantly, and then it was time for the actual shooting. The thing that horrified me was probably the early start. I'm not used to these things, but you sort of imagine a band being all rock and roll and all, it'd be pretty laid back and sort of sleeping in and everything. But these guys had the gung ho, had the momentum, and were all psyched for getting these things done.
Brad talks about the morning of shoot day one.
Picking everybody up, like the night before the first shoot, like I'd pulled a night shift, and I got the call, and I was up for like half an hour before that, and Dizzy was like, "Jesus, man, you're awake," like, and I was like, I'm ready to go, like, you have no idea, like.
Ricky McQuillan gets going.
Just started snapping around. I was supposed just getting into the flow of it. I just started snapping everything, and that was my job, really. That's what I was meant to do, and I really enjoyed that. People were getting on with stuff.
Kojak.
It's like used for archery. So it was myself and Stu. Initially, we're just trying to clear this place of all its targets. Everything that was there, all these carpets. You just wanted a complete blank canvas to set up the guys' equipment. All the nice shiny drum kits and guitars and so on. And put a couple of hours work into that, like just getting the place ready. It was like taping curtains onto the ceiling, rolling up carpets, sliding furniture out of the way.
Ricky then was our fly on the wall photographer, and like all his shots were just unbelievable. Like, and you never know that he's there, but he gets these like really nice moments where people just aren't aware that he's there and just are acting like they would normally act.
Ricky loves the space.
Big windows at the side, loads of light coming in, and that, for me, being the photographer, like, that was just great. I knew I wasn't going to be fighting with the light. So really enjoyed that. I love those kind of spaces.
It's just nice to have that space to play with. Like, as a director or whatever, you can just go in and like, you're not constrained by physical space in a way, like, and you've got plenty of freedom to shoot.
Everyone started to get on with things.
Guys were polishing up the cymbals.
There's a couple of close-ups of Tony reflected in the cymbals.
The drums were stainless steel looking finish. They'd all been polished up by Tony's Love Polish.
People were tying up nets and brushing and dusting. It's a good way of getting out of brushing as well, actually, brushing up and stuff, because you can just take photos of it instead. So that was pretty handy. Kojak was working at putting stuff on the drum skins.
Like, it must have been about 20 minutes, half an hour, just smoothing out a bit on the logo on the drum kit, blended in nicely, like, and you'll see him just like bent over, just hit this the logo, like, just make sure that it was absolutely perfect, and everybody was into all those minor details that like really add up. The guys sat like champs and all, getting their makeup done. Cara came down and was doing a bit of makeup. That was pretty fun, seeing Jude getting pampered up, and they were all loving it. She's pretty, and so I think they're loving the attention of the pretty girl. It was just brilliant, and the lighting rig was going up as well, so they're testing lighting. Stu's brilliant with all that stuff. And to watch him working was an event in and of itself. He's phenomenal. You just see him, he's in his own wee world, but it's really clear to him. He communicates exactly what he's wanting. Really amazing, and it was great. He's great gesticulating as well. That was nice for photos, because he moves his hand about and points at things, and he creates these imageries outside of his head with his hands, and that's nice to photograph.
Lights.
I had always thought of it as we'd just shoot it, using daylight, behind the guys, like backlight them with the daylight. And then like John again, like, was able to say, look, man, I've got like 2 lamps, if we can use them for fill or whatever. And again, like, on a budgetary note, like, we strung white sheets up and just bounced the light off them. And they were procured from Kojak's mum's place, so it's like, just again, like, everybody was involved in this thing,
Camera.
So what we were looking for was a high-def cam of some kind, and I had, luckily through my brother, one of his mates had a camera, and we got it for the shoots.
Action.
All was about to kick off as well, and then some strange irate man's turned up out of nowhere as well. I think we all have fond memories of this.
Came in and we're like, oh shit. Just from the look on the guy's face, it was just like, this guy is gonna, just tell us to leave, and there's absolutely no negotiating with him. It just had, you could see it in his eyes. He was just like, I'm going in here and getting these guys out, that's it. And I just had my head in my hands.
Basically, he tries to throw us out, and he's quite adamant that we shouldn't be there and that he wants us out in 2 seconds flat.
He just came in saying, like, right, who are you? You have no right to be here, and all you just have to leave, basically.
There's no photos of this.
The temptation was that during this scenario, when instead of keeping a low profile, I was so tempted to take a photo of this whole encounter. But the last thing in the world I wanted to do was get his temper going even more than it was.
Of course, like all the guys were diligent. They had cleared it with the guys who rented the space, and like they were like more than happy to let us have it.
Got a bit hairy.
I think this guy believed that Didzy was the same person from another band who had created a lot of mess before. So we coined the term Dredutus.
He just was like, oh, the last time you guys were here filming something, you just left the place in a mess and all. Like, no, it was you, and pointed to Didzy with the dreads. Like he was like, I've definitely seen you here before. Like Didzy was like, no, like I can assure you, like I haven't met you before. I haven't been here before.
We said that he had Dredutus against Didzy's dreads. They all look the same then, people with dreads. But Jude was very calming and shook the man's hand, reassured him that we're completely sound people, very respectable people. This angry man, red face, steam coming out the ears, and Jude with his serene Zen-like face. It was beautiful.
He just said, look, we've spent a lot of money, like, obviously blacking it, like, but it was just a great piece of negotiation. He was like, look, we've spent, like, over, 500 quid, like, renting equipment for the day. And, and then he said, this made me feel happy. Like, he was like, we've got the director in specially from England, and it just, just made the whole operation sound, very professional. Like, and I was just watching the guy's face, and he gently, like, the tension eased from his eyes, and he was like, right, and just chill this guy out or whatever. And he was like, no, right, okay, fair enough. Jude disappeared with him down to his office or whatever and worked it out, and we were all kind of hanging around saying, fuck, hopefully, like, he'll come back and everything will be grand. So, like, after Jude came back, whatever he'd done that room worked miracles, like, he came back and he was like, no, like, we're fine, like, and, let's just go and get on with it.
So we were so thankful and glad that we managed to get out of that.
It's so funny the way, like, all this preparation could just go, to shit, just on one thing like that. But anyway, we got over that.